A very good evening to all our viewers. And today we are with Prince Opuku. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm fine, ma'am. Thank you for having me with you now. Hi to your
Sir, we are
viewers
honored
too.
to have your presence. Sir, how have
Hello.
you been doing? What is the hello?
Yeah,
Can you
ma'am.
hear me,
I'm
sir?
listening. I can hear you.
Yeah. Sir, how is the COVID-19 situation around you? And I hope you're safe.
Yeah, I'm safe, and I think my community, I found myself is doing well, especially the university. I'm still in India, and we are all fighting the common cause. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. It hasn't been easy, but we are exploring the alternative ways. We are using the internet, making access, learning possible through the internet connectivity. So I think it's very good now. Things are well.
Okay, sir. So before we begin with the session, I would like to introduce the Donate a Smile Foundation to our viewers and to you.
Okay, ma'am.
May I go? Yeah, sir.
Yeah, permission
Okay.
granted.
Donate a Smile Foundation was founded on 5th December 2016. It is a result-based organization and they have been working on education, skill development, health, environment, and women upliftment from all this while. Now, for the past year, they have been working with different government agencies like MP Police, Forest Department, and Mahila Bal Vikas and various NGOs.
All
Recently,
right.
they have completed student police cadet project with Shivpuri Police, which was selected best at the division level. So, sir, Donate a Smile Foundation is honored to have your presence with us. I,
Thank you
Ritu
so much.
Verma, would now request Prabal to kindly put up a PPT about Donate a Smile Foundation and its work. I hope, sir, you saw the honorary and uplifting work of Donate a Smile Foundation.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it, and you people are doing an amazing job. And this is the kind of things I expect many youth, especially our age, to be facing or fight societal vices and issues. Basically, you know, this kind of situation we found ourselves, I believe that the youth have the power to solve it, and the future belongs to us. So if we do not have put up proper mechanism to address these issues, we shouldn't expect something good. So I think you are in the right direction, and this is really an amazing job you guys are doing, and I wish you to put up more and never renege on your effort. Keep going. Go for the gold.
Thank you, sir. I would also like to tell my viewers that we will be translating it to Hindi for all the people who would like to have it convenient in Hindi. So, sir का कहना है कि हम काफी अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं और हमारा जो यूथ विगर है उसका यूटिलाइजेशन का एक मैकेनिज्म होना काफी जरूरी है. तो उस मैकेनिज्म को करने के लिए डोनेट अ स्माइल फाउंडेशन काफी अच्छा काम कर रहा है एंड हम काफी सर काफी अमेज्ड हैं और हमारा काम काफी अच्छा है. So thank you, sir, for your words. Now, Donate a Smile Foundation is now taking its webinar series to a new level by introducing international guests and covering facets of Indian education system from the lens of a foreign individual. So with this, I now introduce our honorable guest for the day, Prince Opuku. Prince Opuku is a young professional and a researcher from Ghana with a keen interest in public policy, human rights, and gender issues. He is a Kautilya Fellow and ICCR scholar, pursuing a Master of Arts Political Science at Punjab University, Patiala. He has served as a teaching at the Department of Political Science, University of Education, Webina, Ghana, where he obtained his Bachelor of Arts Social Science Education. Prince has represented papers in Nainital and international conferences. Let's have a glimpse of the journey of Prince Opuku through a PPT. Okay, so I would now request our honorable guest for the day to kindly tell us more about himself and make us more well-versed with what his work is more like.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me on this great show, and I appreciate this kind gesture, and I want to express my admiration and gratitude for this opportunity. It means a lot to me, and I don't consider myself as the wisest person or whatsoever, but I consider it by favor or a great opportunity for me to come to this highest level. To me, it's a great level and a great platform to show my view. Like you said, the journey has been tough from the beginning. By God being so good, things has been really well. Especially coming to India, it has been a turning point in my academic career. I'm a kind-hearted person, someone who is passionate about youth development, human rights, especially women. And I have a strong conviction that if everyone is given equal opportunity and equal rights, society will move in a positive direction. I've been also a member of the Global Shapers Community, Chandigarh Hub, where we are trying to solve societal issues in a very less expensive way. So I'm really committed to serving society, solving societal issues, and try to project good values. In as much as we are trying to stay through academics, we have to keep in mind that we have certain virtues, certain values we need to inculcate in order to help make sure that the world will be a better place for everyone. So I've taken keen interest in any activities that impact society. Tree planting in Chandigarh, also blood donation exercise. I am a blood donor myself. I've participated in blood donation exercise, and I've also engaged in road safety awareness at Patiala Foundation. So any activity or event that deals with bringing positive impact in society, you'll find me there. These are some of the things I think if any individual carry with him or her would help push society to an acceptable standard, not to make world a perfect place, but we have a kind of a society or a situation whereby everyone will not have everything the person will have, but will live a comfortable kind of life. He or she may be peaceful or have inner peace and joy. So these are some of the things I stand for as a person. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. सर का कहना है कि अगर हम मॉरल वैल्यूज को इनकलकेट करेंगे, ही इज अ पर्सन हु बिलीव्स इन प्रिंसिपल्स, और उनका कहना है कि अगर मॉरल वैल्यूज को इस समाज में हम इनकलकेट करते हैं तो ये काफी फायदेमंद है, और जो समाज है वो पीसफुली जी इसी तरीके से शांति से और अमन से हम सभी साथ में को एग्जिस्ट कर पाएंगे, अगर हम सब प्रिंसिपल वैल्यूज और मॉरल वैल्यूज को ध्यान में रखें तो। No, now, sir, I would like to take permission for you to enter into our question answer round.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, sir. So the first question coming your way is, how has your journey been so far in India, and how do you feel is the education system of India?
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for this question. And I am one person. I came to India through ICCL African Scholarship Scheme, and we have a kind of perception about developing countries. You know, Ghana is also a developing country, and moving out from Ghana, people were expecting like you go to Europe and other advanced countries more than India. I'm not saying India is also a developing country. So there's a kind of expectation that people, as a young individual who try to sail through the academics, you go to the advanced countries like Canada, Europe, and other countries, other American countries. So that was the kind of expectation. So when I got the chance to come to India, it was my first experience traveling abroad and also coming to Asia. I was like, okay, let me give this a try. And to be frank with you, it has been a very important decision I've ever taken in my life, and it has been a turning point in my life. Especially coming here, I had a lot of opportunities to attend so many conferences, especially the Kotalia Fellow Program, whereby I had the opportunity to even have a dinner with the then Foreign Affairs Minister, Mrs. Susma Swaraj. I don't know if the name is correct. I have a dinner with her. I met so many diplomats, of which it was impossible to do in the white society where I was coming from. Back to the question with Indian educational system. Fine, India is a vast country with huge population and a kind of diverse culture compared to Ghana. Ghana is we have a population of 30 million. That is just a projection as against a population of 1.3 billion people. So you could see that the society I'm coming from is a microcosm of India, just a small aspect. Okay, back to the educational system. Let me put this one on a record that whatever I say is my personal opinion and perception, observation I've observed in India since 2 years now, and it might not reflect the, what do you call it? It might not be the absolute truth, because coming from Ghana, I've studied there for 24 years. I've been in India for Ghana for 24 years of my life, and just 2 years I may not have the grasp or the general idea about everything. So I will observe from my limited observation and where I found myself. So if whatever I say will not reflect the generality of Indian educational system, pardon me for that. Okay, with the educational system in India and Ghana, we can say that the system I've gone through in Ghana, we have some practical experience whereby questions are set and you have to elaborate more on digest issues. You have to set some practical aspects. But with what I've seen here, is a kind of rote learning. You read from book, you chew. We have something in the system practice called chew pour pass. So you just have to grasp everything. And there's a kind of another thing, the central authority that regulates university in India has a sole mandate, and they can regulate university, academics, and other stuff. When you go to Ghana, the universities are autonomous on themselves, semi-autonomous. The school or the university authorities take decisions, they examine the student, they set questions for the lecturers, set questions, and they examine the student. But back to India, you could see that there's a general body that sets questions, examinations, the final end of semester exam are external one are set somewhere whereby you write exam, you have to take through a long process, it goes through. And I think it's the best way. That is compared to Ghana, I think Indian one is the best. So basically, the student go to proper channel of examination, whereby it is very difficult to manipulate the system, because in our case, when some people are not that in that kind of level, they can have their means to maneuver. But with the Indian one, you don't know the one examining you, you don't know the one marking your paper, so it will be very difficult, thereby putting you in a position to read more. Another aspect with the curriculum or the syllabus, I've observed that the Indian syllabus is much elaborate and deep compared to my country. So I can say that with the issue of the curriculum or the syllabus is extensive, and the mode of teaching, they incorporate ancient India to the modern. And I understand that to understand the modern, you have to, or the modern, you have to understand from the ancient perspective. So one thing I can say is that that is also a good aspect. So these are kind of a comparison, and I think that the educational system here is so quick that those students that I found them in my master's class, they're supposed to be doing bachelor's in my country. So I think your system is so quick that exposes students to advance to the highest level. Especially, it is very difficult to find most people at age 18 up to 2022 in master's class in Ghana. It is highly difficult, no matter what. But here, these things are possible. So these are kind of the things I know much differ from our thing, our side. Thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir, for your response.
Welcome.
सर का कहना है कि उनकी लाइफ का ये काफी टर्निंग पॉइंट रहा है और ये काफी नया अपॉर्चुनिटी से भरा हुआ मोड़ रहा है कि उन्हें इंडिया आईसीसीआर के थ्रू आने मिला था। और उन्हें जब लोग जनरली घाना से स्कॉलरशिप लेकर जाना चाहते हैं तो वो यूरोपियन कंट्रीज की तरफ जाते हैं, पर सर ने इंडिया को एक अपॉर्चुनिटी और एक ट्राई देने का सोचा और वो यही सोच के इस देश में आए। फिर जब उन्होंने अपनी एजुकेशन सिस्टम को देखा तो उनका ये कहना है कि घाना में जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है वो ज्यादातर प्रैक्टिकल अप्रोच की तरफ जाती है और उनकी जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है वो मोस्टली जैसे प्रैक्टिकल आपका एप्लीकेशन क्या है आपके नॉलेज का, इस पर फोकस्ड है। पर इंडिया में जो है उनका कहना है कि यहाँ का एक तो हमारा सिस्टम है, ये उनका ओपिनियन है, और उनका ये कहना है कि जो ये हमारा सिस्टम है वो इतनी अच्छी टेस्टिंग प्रोसीजर्स लेता है कि आप टीचर्स को या आप किसी भी तरीके से सिस्टम को एक फॉल्टी सिचुएशन में नहीं ला सकते और आपको समझाना अच्छे से पड़ेगा और उस चीज की डीपर नॉलेज होगी तो ही आप पास करेंगे। उन्होंने अपने अभी तक का जितना उन्होंने 2 साल एक्सपीरियंस किया है उससे उन्होंने यही ग्रास्प किया है और उनका ये भी कहना है कि यहाँ की नॉलेज काफी डीप है। So sir, I will be now posting my second question to you.
Okay.
My question is, do you think that Indian school curriculum or college curriculum is providing enough exposure to students?
Okay, thank you. With the exposure, it could be from an angle you argue from. Do you get it? Like I said, India is a huge country with huge population. So I check on the internet, we realize that most people, the unemployment rate is high. Do you get it? This is one problem to most developing countries. And we will blame some of these problems on the curriculum or the educational system, because the universities or the colleges has to prepare students for the job market. And this is a situation most people in developing countries, especially the youth, they complete school, they have another battle to fight with. At the point you realize that you have gone through educational system and your society, your certificate will not give you the needed job market or the office to operate from. So this becomes the challenge. So, and there's one suggestion I will give, that okay, with the issue of political science, you come as a political science student, there are certain areas that you cannot fit into, you cannot go to certain areas. So in my suggestion, at the other parts, I will come there. I think some of the subject areas are well prepared with the kind of artificial intelligence that has come in the limelight, is now dictating the space. So with the aspect of social sciences, that is why the problems lie. But those into science, computer science, and other jobs that you complete those programs, you finish, and your job is ready for you, they are not having much problem. So it is about time we try to mend the syllabus or the curriculum to meet the challenging needs or the current situation, so that if we are moving an advanced stage or a technological way, we go that way. So it shouldn't be the old system. and people are going up. More people are giving birth to so many. The population is increasing at a higher rate. So the jobs, people competing for job will be higher. So in as much as we also blame the educational system, we will have to also consider the number of people growing and the job available. So in a way, we cannot blame much on the education. I think education is doing their part, exposing people to the opportunities, but the opportunities available are rather limited. So I can say that with the Indian educational system, prepare students well for the job market. The opportunity is there for us to give the train the faculties within individuals that prepare them for the needed job. But this is the situation due to certain policies or certain issues that society faces. You come and the jobs are not there. So with my opinion, I think the curriculum is well designed that will help the individual to come out with their best. So I think it exposes individual to the job market to some extent, not 100%, but it is to an acceptable point.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर। माय सर का ये कहना है कि इंडिया एक डेवलपिंग नेशन है और जिस तरीके से यहाँ की पॉपुलेशन बढ़ती जा रही है, तो हमारा करिकुलम जो है वो वास्ट है। हमारा करिकुलम काफी सारी चीजों को कवर करता है। टू द एंड हर इंडिविजुअल को एक अपॉर्चुनिटी जरूर मिलेगी, मे बी वो उसकी जो प्रोफाइल है या उसका जो क्वालिफिकेशन है उसके हिसाब की ना मिले, पर इंडिया हैज स्कोप एंड धीरे धीरे विद डेवलपमेंट we can increase the number of exposures that we give to our people. Sir, my next question towards you is, what do you think that testing is a good way of judging knowledge?
Okay, this is a very dicey question, and people have their own opinion. And if you are not careful selecting or answering this question, someone will see you to be a lazy person when you speak against testing. Okay, it is about time people have to realize that there are so many ways to assess students. Someone says that if you judge a fish and a bird thinking that a bird can fly, you are just wasting your time. You cannot compare the capability of a bird with that of with a fish. They have their respective areas they can do their best. Okay, with the issue of testing, see, there are so many faculties or some aspects. We have 3 domains of human learning: the psychomotor, the affective, and the cognitive. Do you get it? But you can see that the testing aspect is more into the cognitive aspect, leaving away the other 2 technical domains of human lives. Do you get it? We have people who are known as those who can express everything in writing. People cannot express it in writing, but technically, when you give them the job, they can do. So if there's a mechanism to also test those students to prove them their worth, I think it will be very good. So in a way, we have to come out with certain alternatives that individuals can choose from, or they decide at which medium they should be tested. So it shouldn't be the arbitrary way. We have to all go through the testing, the manual testing system. You go and read some materials and come and pour down, of which is not helping. At the end of the day, the one who is able to write more is considered as intelligent and other stuff, killing the other domain of human life. So I have also a reservation with issue of testing. If to me today there's another alternative to replace the modern way of assessing students, I think it will be best. Or if there should be an aspect that goes into writing, an aspect that goes into practical section, I think it will be best. So we shouldn't depend everything solely on exams. And I think some countries are taking initiative of canceling the modern way or the current way of assessing students, and I think it will help them. It's not only the cognitive aspect, you have to consider the other affective and the psychomotor skills of the individual, so that in a way we will achieve a holistic manner or approach of assessing students.
थैंक यू सर। सर का कहना है कि हम एक मछली, बंदर, भालू इनको बिठाकर एक पेड़ पे चढ़ना है, और इस थीम से हम जज नहीं कर सकते। हम इस तरीके से जज नहीं कर सकते हैं उनकी स्किल्स। तो ये जो स्किल्स या जज करने का जो तरीका होता है, हमारा जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है, उसे जज करने का जो हमारी स्किल्स जज करने का तरीका है, उससे इंसान की जो पर्सनल स्किल्स होती हैं, जो एक पर्सनल डोमेन होता है जिसमें वो काफी अच्छा कर रहा होता है, वो डोमेन जनरली ना मतलब जनरली वो डोमेन थोड़ा सा किसी तरीके से दब जाता है अगर हम एक स्टैंडर्डाइज फॉर्म ऑफ टेस्टिंग निकाले कि अगर आप केवल, हो सकता है जो चीज एक व्यक्ति कर सकता है वो दूसरे ना कर सके। तो सर का कहना है कि हमें इसके लिए एक ऑल्टरनेटिव ढूंढने की काफी ज्यादा जरूरत है। So now I would be moving with my next question. My next question is, what is the role that government should play for the betterment of education?
Okay, one thing with educational policies, don't have to leave every educational policies to the hands of only the government. Most countries, you see, government influence on taking decision with academics is becoming too much. So another way is that the government should reduce their influence. They should give educational experts the opportunity to decide what is best for in what should be incorporated in education. Also, another thing is that I think when taking educational decision, there should be much stakeholder consultation, and also education is the backbone of every country. Like there was a saying that if you want to destroy a nation, you don't need a missile, you just collapse the educational system. So the government should make education one of its priority and make sure that they have to channel much of their resources. And once you invest in education, education is very expensive. You invest in it and you make sure that the right thing is done. If it comes to the curriculum development, the curriculum evaluation, it should be properly done. And also, they should try to link, they should try to make sure that whatever unit or establishment they come with, especially with the job market, to align with the curriculum we found ourselves. Because I cannot come and study A. When I come out, the A is not there. I have to find a way to catch up with B, of which I didn't study. So the government should create opportunity for people that come out from any educational system to also give out their best, not for themselves, but if you have an unemployed graduate of about 50% of your population, that particular state is at a risk, because these people, in attempt to survive, they employ so many mechanisms. Do you get it? Being robbery, engaging in a whole lot of social vices, and the kind of frustration they will find themselves. We have frustration aggression theory, who says that when human beings are frustrated, they end up being aggressive. So you consider yourself going through educational system about 15, 18 years, and you become a liability or a burden upon society. You see yourself as being useless if you are not mentally strong. So the government should make sure that they will create more opportunities to meet or to absorb people, graduate coming out of the educational system. I think this is the best way to go.
Thank you, sir. सर कहना चाहते हैं कि जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है उसमें बच्चों को करिकुलम को चूज करने का ऑप्शन मिलना चाहिए, चूज करने का इस तरीके से कि उन्हें सब्जेक्ट्स चूज करने का, अपने इंटरेस्ट का कंपाइलेशन बना के उन्हें वो पढ़ाना चाहिए। इससे क्या होगा कि इंसान एक बेटर, जिस फील्ड में दे आर इंटरेस्टेड, दे विल बी एबल टू स्कोर बेटर इन दैट, एंड उससे हम परफेक्ट इंडिविजुअल्स क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। और दूसरी चीज, गवर्नमेंट को जितने अनएम्प्लॉयड यूथ है उनके लिए टाइम टू टाइम ऑल्टरनेटिव्स निकालते रहने चाहिए ताकि उनका जो विगर है उसे यूटिलाइज किया जा सके। सर, द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन फॉर यू is what should be the one reform that we need universally for better treatment, for the betterment of education system in the world?
Okay, well, very, very good question. And I will suggest one. We should move away from the rote learning or book theoretical aspect of education to a practical one, because now we are in an information age. Whatever you know in books, maybe I don't know your field of study or specialization. You might not be a political science student, but you go to the internet. If there's a term, you just type on Google, you get the term. So people are of the view that a time will come that whatever we learn from books, it will be available for everyone. So you don't need to accumulate all this knowledge in your head because it will be available for everyone. So as we are progressing, technology is becoming high. We have to concentrate on aspects that will give an individual skill. Do you get it? We have to promote some programs or yes, programs that will give much skill than the theoretical aspect whereby you have to read everything, keep everything in memory, and come and pour. At the end of the day, the individual end up as a jobless. Do you get it? So I think in China they converted so many universities into technical universities whereby individual will not come out of the school being unemployed. Whether you are not in the government sector, you can do something for yourself. So now we are in a technological world. Government should try to incorporate technology or channel their resources or anything decision into education whereby an individual will come out from education fully equipped with skill, being technology, being artificial intelligence and other stuff. They'll be able to do something for themselves, not necessarily depending on the government for all kind of recruitment or employment, which now is the major problem. So I think we should move from the theoretical aspect of education and move to the practical aspect. And now technology is making it possible. By the time will come, no one will go even to classroom. The pandemic has shown us the way that now having in-person training is no more necessary. It's about having setting a proper technological platform, virtual platform. You can sit anywhere and get your education. And I think for time to come, it may not be now, for years to come, classroom studies will be no more. Internet connectivity, G5 will be high. So many inventions will come whereby you don't have to even go to classroom. You sit beside your technology or computer or whatsoever. Now communication is possible between you and I, far distance, but we are able to share ideas. So these are some of the aspects we should channel our energies and resources to, so that it's not about what you read in a book, but what you can do with your hand and what you can do with any knowledge you have. Especially if people go through a particular educational system, of which, let me cite India's situation. A friend told me, Prince, now I'm about to complete school and I don't know what to do with my life. We know this situation. So apart from being employed by the government, what are other opportunities that a graduate or someone who has gone through educational system can also do for himself without depending on the government? I think this moving from the theoretical aspect to practical aspect or knowledge-based education is the best to me.
Okay, सर का कहना है कि जिस तरीके से हम केवल थ्योरेटिकल एस्पेक्ट पे ध्यान देते हैं, तो उससे एक इंडिविजुअल को आगे क्या करना है वो उसमें कंफ्यूज रहता है काफी बार. तो अगर वर्ल्ड वाइड हमें एजुकेशन का सिस्टम चेंज करना है, तो उसको चेंज करने के लिए हमें जो थ्योरेटिकल एस्पेक्ट है उससे हटकर एक प्रैक्टिकल अप्रोच लेनी चाहिए. और क्योंकि जैसे चाइना का मॉडल ले लें अगर हम, तो जो चाइना है उसने अपनी सारी जितने इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं, थ्योरेटिकल इंस्टीट्यूट्स को टेक्निकल इंस्टीट्यूट्स में कन्वर्ट कर दिया है. तो इससे क्या होता है कि मतलब एक इंडिविजुअल एक पर्टिकुलर चीज में काफी पारंगत होकर निकलता है. तो ये फायदे मिलते हैं इससे. और सर का केवल यही कहना है कि टेक्नोलॉजी के यूज से हम इसे बहुत इजीली मतलब प्राप्त कर सकते हैं. और इजीली मतलब जैसे देखिए अभी मैं और सर बात कर रहे हैं, उसी तरीके से हम बहुत आसानी से इस अप्रोच की तरफ बढ़ सकते हैं आगे जाके. सर, माय नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन फॉर यू इज what is the one quality that you think a teacher must possess or a professor must possess?
I think having a strong will, being a good leader, because teachers are second parents to everyone. So one quality, apart from other than getting the knowledge to impart, should be a good example to everyone. So that is one point, because it should be someone can look up to, because at a point, even we believe what our teachers teach us or told us than what our parents at a point will tell us, especially when a child goes through educational system. You introduce a child to school and there's a certain things they come and they say it is wrong, and you try to correct them. You say, no, my teacher said this. So as a teacher, you have a huge responsibility on you. So you have to be, to me, a good example, someone student can look up to. So you have to project yourself in an acceptable standard in a society, not only in the classroom. You have to try to be a flag, a banner that every student can look up to. You should be a source of hope, a source of inspiration. Apart from imparting the knowledge, this is what, to me, if a teacher possesses, you win the confidence of your students. You should be approachable. Students can approach you, share their views, share their problems with you. There should be something they can learn from you outside classroom. So this to me is the best way. Teacher should be a good example to everyone.
Okay, sir. सर कहते हैं एक टीचर को एक मार्गदर्शक होना चाहिए और एक मतलब वो एक दूसरा पेरेंट होना चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर वो एक अच्छा लीडर होगा और वो इस तरीके की अपनी पर्सनल लाइफ में भी ऐसी एक मॉरल और प्रिंसिपल वाली अप्रोच रखेगा तो स्टूडेंट्स उसे एक प्रेरणा की तरह देख सकते हैं और उससे अलग अलग मॉरल वैल्यूज ले सकते हैं. सर, माय नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू इज, व्हाट इज द मेन डिफरेंस between the education system in Ghana and when I specify Ghana, it's like overall Africa, and then and in India, like how do you compare it and how do you think, like what are the loopholes in both the education system?
Like I said, our educational system is a bit length. The duration for the education is too long, and India is a bit short, whereby you find a younger age in master's class, especially at 22, 18 years in a master class. And in our system, it is not so. Before even you complete bachelor's, you go through the proper channel. You complete bachelor's, you should be around 22 years. But I think with the India one, is too short. That exposes students to progress faster. So this is the main difference I've observed. But with the curriculum, with what is taught, I think India is more elaborate, deep. It is extensive. I'm not saying ours is not. It doesn't cover much, but the topics in the syllabus, to me, I think India is much more elaborate and more, since it incorporates most things. And one significant thing I indicate earlier is about building the study from Asian perspective, to the point that if I didn't come to study, I never knew Kotalia even started the issue of public administration. Kotalia in his Sastra tried to build about international relations. So many theories, he propounded 4 theories about diplomacy and other stuff. So they try to tell us that there are some people who did this work before the Western world thinkers we know. So I think this is one of the difference we can strike here. Building it from the ancient time to the medieval time to the modern time, and try to see the education from Indian perspective. Especially when you go to class, most of the examples that come is from Kautilya, Mahabharata period, the Vedic period, Upashadic period. All this period is being incorporated. The Manu Srimiti being incorporated. But most examples are coming from India. And I think the best way to help people to appreciate themselves is when you help them to understand them from their own perspective and their environment. But when you go to our side, we are more tuned to the Europe. Do you get it? We are more tuned to Europe. We do most things. Most examples are coming from European Western style of education. This is I'm not saying India is not doing Western style of education. It is a blend. India is able to blend the two, but ours is more into that aspect.
Okay, thank you, sir. सर का कहना है कि जो भारत का एजुकेशन सिस्टम है वो मोर ओवर कह सकते हैं कि किताबों से रिलेटेड है, बहुत ज्यादा बुकिश नॉलेज है, और प्लस हमारा जो कल्चर है वो हमारी एजुकेशन में बहुत अच्छा रिफ्लेक्ट होता है, क्योंकि काफी बार ऐसा होता है कि हमें अलग अलग सैंपल्स या अलग अलग एग्जाम्पल्स बताए जाते हैं पढ़ाते समय कि महाभारत में ऐसा था, और फिर उन सब चीजों का रेफरेंस देते हैं हमारे उपनिषद वगैरह से, तो वी आर कनेक्टेड विद आवर रूट्स. जहाँ की जब बात आती है घाना की, तो घाना का जो कल्चर है वो ज्यादातर यूरोपियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम से मतलब रिफ्लेक्टेड है, और उनका प्रैक्टिकल अप्रोच ज्यादा है. पर सर ने एक और चीज जो काफी अच्छी कही वो ये है कि इंडिया का जो सिस्टम है, इंडिया में जबकि एक बच्चा काफी जल्दी ग्रेजुएट हो जाता है और काफी जल्दी मतलब स्कूल पास आउट करके ग्रेजुएट हो जाता है, वहां पर घाना में एक बार है कि 22 साल की उम्र का मतलब बार होता है उन्हें। तो इसके बावजूद भी हमारा मतलब जो रेट है एजुकेशन का, जो बेटरमेंट का रेट है, वो काफी अच्छा है एज कम्पेयर टू घाना। सो सर, नाउ आई विल बी आस्किंग यू वन मोर क्वेश्चन and then I will ask you for the feedback. Just give me a second, sir. So
Okay.
I would also like to ask our audience to kindly give us some questions if they feel like, and if anybody from the audience would like to ask any questions from you. Until then, I will just
Okay.
give you one more question. And that is, sir, you have seen so much in Indian culture. You are here from 2 years. We celebrate quite many festivals. So, what do you
Yeah.
think our culture is like? What did you find the most exciting about the Indian festivals or culture?
Okay. One very important thing I've observed is the welcoming spirit of Indians. They are so hospitable. Though I've seen an instances. Let me be a bit diplomatic with this. There was a perception or something that we heard Indians do not like blacks, and we have seen. We go to some places, people say certain things that are so disheartening to denigrate your image as black. But then the kind of good people we have met outnumber that kind of perception. So let me focus on the good aspect with issue of welcoming, hospitality, especially the Punjabi. Let me speak from Punjabi perspective, Punjab perspective, because this is where I've stayed for 2 years. You enter every place, the way they will welcome you, they offer you something. You cannot enter Indian house or Indian office without going or taking anything. They will offer biscuit, a drink, tea, chai, these things. And also try to help you sail through or coming out of problem is one thing. I mean, is very good. The only thing I don't like about them is time. When in the end, they give you 2 days, expect 2 weeks. They tell you to meet me at this time. We have this kind of things. But then with the issue of hospitality, how to calm situation that when you have problem, the way they will embrace you, accept you, and other stuff is very, you feel that you are at home, especially with this pandemic. You have people calling you, how are you doing? Have you eaten? How do you eat? If even the person will not be able to help you, he tell you, if you have any problem, call me. I will be like, if I call you, can you come and help me? He said, oh, I'm just showing care. I'm showing care. You see, this is the kind of thing that mm, I've been here 2 years without going home, and I feel at home. I feel at home. The teachers are so cooperative, very good. They accept you as one of them. They treat you well. These are some of the things I think. If everyone does it in every community, we find these things in the community or everywhere, the world will be a better place. So we are universal citizens. You shouldn't go to a place and just have some difficulties just because you are not from that place. And I haven't seen that. I'm able to move freely to everywhere, keeping in mind of Indians' rule without flouting any rules, obeying the rules, and mind you, I'm living a comfortable and a peaceful life. So this is one thing I like so much. And with the culture, they try to teach you Bhangra, give you chapati and other food. I remember during the Diwali festival, we have a lot of fun and you feel at home. So I think it's the best thing, and I'll commend India and especially the people of Punjab wherever I go with their care, their attention, their respect, their acceptance. It's really massive. It's really massive.
Thank you, sir. I am very glad to
Welcome.
hear this.
I'm
एक
also happy to be part of India and so much interesting to be here.
थैंक यू सर। जैसा कि सर ने कहा, एक बहुत ही ये काफी गर्व की बात है कि उन्हें भारत देश अपने घर जैसा लगने लग गया है। और हम सभी ने, इनफैक्ट उनके आसपास रहने वाले सभी भारतीयों ने उन्हें काफी अच्छा और एक काफी मतलब अच्छे जेस्चर्स दिए हैं और हमेशा मददगार रहना, ये एक इंडियंस की काफी अच्छी चीज लगती है उन्हें और वो काफी इज्जत देते हैं। यूं तो अफ्रीका में उनके हिसाब से कि एक टैबू है कि इंडियंस ब्लैक्स को ज्यादा पसंद नहीं करते होंगे, ऐसा टैबू सोचा जाता है। पर सर ने आके यहाँ एक्सपीरियंस किया कि वो काफी फ्रीली मूव कर पा रहे हैं, घूम पा रहे हैं और काफी अच्छे से यहाँ पर अपनी लाइफ लीड कर पा रहे हैं, उन्हें काफी कंफर्टेबल और पीसफुल लगता है। तो ये सारी जो चीज है वो काफी अच्छी है इंडिया में, एंड पीपल आर ऑलवेज रेडी टू हेल्प, दैट इज द बेस्ट पॉइंट दैट ही लाइक्स, एंड फेस्टिवल्स ऑफ कोर्स। So thank you, sir. Now I would like to move forward with the feedback, sir. So I would like to like you to give a feedback about the Donate a Smile Foundation and about this webinar.
It has been very interesting, and their questions are very practical, thought provoking, and I must say it has been a wonderful experience in my life, especially this particular event. And I'll commend the organizers for selecting me to speak on the subject. Like I said, I may not be the best among the candidates, but you selected me, and the question has exposed me to so many a point to reason and think and come out with certain aspects. So it is excellent to me. It is excellent, and I will plead with the listeners. If anything didn't go with you, this is my first time engaging this kind of a conversation, and I will plead your kind forgiveness. Other thing, I'm very happy, and it is the best moment, and it is excellent conversation we've had now.
Thank you, sir. सर का कहना है कि उनका जो एक्सपीरियंस है डोनेट अ स्माइल फाउंडेशन के साथ इस मंच पर काफी अच्छा रहा है, और वो बहुत ही खुश हैं कि हमने उन्हें इस मंच पे आमंत्रित किया है। आगे वो ये भी कह रहे हैं कि हमारा जो डोनेट अ स्माइल फाउंडेशन है उसका काम बहुत अच्छा है और काफी प्रोग्रेसिव है, एंड आगे जाके मतलब उनका हमसे जुड़ना उन्हें काफी अच्छा लगा है, और उसके लिए वो हमें धन्यवाद करना चाहते हैं। With this, I would also like to say to the viewers that we are very thankful for your extreme presence, and everyone who is watching it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Donate a Smile Foundation, for giving me and sir an opportunity to be on this platform.
Thank you.